Welcome to my presentation of my Education 2400 class file. My Education 2400 class takeaway file. And just like my overview of it and how I'm going to use it and how others might use it. So I thought I'd start with just like kind of how I set up my file. So I started with just your regular good old Google document, but something that I loved about this is I use these little tabs on the side, and so I created different tabs for each of the sections. So I have a tab for lesson plans and units. I have a tab for classroom management strategies, teaching strategies, assessment tools and resources, cultural competency, supplemental materials, and then my reflection. So I started with my lesson plans and units tab, and I uploaded all of the lesson plans I have made for this class and all of my other classes. I've decided that instead of just making this my Education 2400 file, because I wanted to continue to use this, so I've decided to add all the resources I have found from other classes this semester and from this class, so that I can actually have all of my things put in one place, and it can become my ultimate takeaway file, so I can have easy access when I actually start having my own classroom and start teaching. So my next one is my classroom management strategies file. So the assignment I have in this one is the most recent one, the culturally responsive classroom management plan from this class. So I put in my management plan, and then I put in my presentation as well, and then my video at the bottom. And I loved this just because I kind of had to think, and I had to be like, okay, well, how am I going to make a management plan, but not just a management plan, but it's going to be culturally responsive as well. So I threw that in there so I can look back through that as I'm setting up my class and be like, okay, well, these are some ideas I had then. What are some ideas have now, and how can I make sure that it can remind me, and like, how can I make sure that I'm being culturally inclusive? Okay, and then my next section is teaching strategies. This, I think, is going to be a very important one for me to have, as well as my my management plans, just because as a brand new teacher in a couple of years, I'm going to need to know all the teaching strategies I've learned throughout the year and throughout college, and it's going to be hard to remember all of them right as I go to start teaching, because I feel like as soon as I start to do something that I've been learning about all the time, I'll be like, oh, let me just forget everything I've ever learned. And so this will be super nice to keep adding to as well, and so I can have lots of teaching strategies, and when I start to become a teacher, I can go to this spot and be like, okay, well, what are some things I'm struggling with in teaching, and what are some things that I could do better, and how can I make it better, and what are some strategies I've just completely forgotten about, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a great one, I can use that. So that'll be super nice to have as well. Okay, the assessment tools and resources. I threw in some assessments that I've made for this class and for other classes, and like the rubrics I've done, so that when I go to make assessments in the future, when I'm actually a teacher or just in other classes, I can remember what I did to make it like a good assessment and with a good rubric, and how I set them up, and also how it's like, again, culturally responsive, because while taking this class, and I've been applying that to all my other classes this semester, as I've been learning in this class how to make my assignments more culturally responsive. I've been working on making sure to add that into all my other classes this semester's assignments as well, so that I can be putting it into practice as much as possible. Okay, and then my second to last one is cultural competency and inclusivity. So I put this assessment in actually, yeah. So I started with the very first action planning template for cultural responsiveness. So I threw that whole assignment in and all my stuff, and I even kept all the resources in, so when I am teaching I can go back and like look at the resources and see if there's something in the resources that wasn't quite like focused on in my paper that I want to focus on as a teacher. And then I also put in the observation form of cultural inclusivity, and I can use this so we observed other teachers teaching, but this way I can use this kind of like as a self-assessment, being like, okay, how am I doing? Am I being culturally inclusive? Am I not? Where can I improve? What can I do better? And then I included some of the journal responses that we've talked about that go underneath this section. Okay, and then supplemental materials. As I was going through the assignments to add to this class takeaway file, I was reminded of some of like the videos and the text that we read, so I just added links to all of those into this file. And then in my reflection, I just talked about the things that I just barely talked about for the most part, and just how I'm going to use it and how I want to use this file in the future, and how I'm going to hopefully apply these things in this file when I'm a teacher and keep adding to them throughout college as well. So thank you very much for watching.